Let's start the meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, City Planner, I believe you are in charge tonight as far as clerk duties go.
I am. Councilmember
Call the roll.
Clure? Here. Redmond? Here. Stackfleth?
Here.
Collings?
Here.
Stearns?
Here. Well done.
Yeah.
Very good.
So
We like
efficient.
it. Nice and brief. All right. We have no special presentations tonight, so we're going to go right to public comment, item number 4 on the agenda. You can speak for 3 minutes on subjects on the regular agenda. Oh, you cannot speak about subjects on the regular agenda, excuse me. You can speak for 3 minutes on items in the consent agenda. So anyone within the audience would like to come up and talk about some items? David? Name and city of residence, folks.
David Ream, Mount Shasta. For thou art with me. Most likely, you were not as lucky as myself and did not have a wise American history professor, Mr. Kibbe, teaching you the wisdom of our founding fathers. In the process of our country's creation to establish our Constitution, which you all just pledge allegiance, in order to have enough votes to pass the document, a promise was made to immediately thereafter establish our first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. In this bill, the First Amendment ends with, quote, to petition the government for redresses of grievances, end quote. This is exactly what I am doing now. The First Amendment right of free speech does not apply to all speech. The most common example of restrictions are yelling fire in a crowded theater and inciting violence. Also, there are restrictions on speech for defamation of character, libel, and slander. 2 meetings ago, I entered this room a few minutes before 5:30. I sat in the front row and overheard a conversation with Mr. Collings and Mr. Gibson, standing a mere 6 feet to my right. They were speaking of people flipping other people off, giving the middle finger. This gesture is universally recognized as an expression for the vulgar words, which I will clean up a bit for polite company, F you. I like to call it the one-finger salute since I have been graced with it for over 9 years by Mr. Redmond. Shortly, Mr. Collings approaches me while I sit, and he initiates a conversation. Soon, Mr. Redmond, while seated alongside Mr. Stackfleth at the city council table, proceeds his proclivity with his finger salute in my direction. Soon thereafter, Mr. Redmond steps to his left, saying, F you, pedophile. Shortly thereafter, everyone stands for the Pledge of Allegiance. Not one person in this room who has witnessed the above occurrence protests in any manner the behavior Mr. Redmond, Mr. Collings, or Mr. Gibson. Shall I assume this is to be the standard official behavior towards me by the city of Mount Shasta, California, in the United States of America?
All right, do we have somebody else that would like to speak? Johanna, name and place of residence.
Johanna L. Torfer, Mount Shasta, and I just had a request on the minutes from the last meeting. In my public comments, I would just like to have it updated because I also asked for no smoking signs on Pine Street, similar to what we have downtown because it's a main thoroughfare to our beautiful town. So if that could be updated for our minutes, that would be awesome. That was all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, well, we'll close public comment at this point and move on to council and staff comments. Normally, the city manager would have a list of things to go over. He's not here today. So we'll start with the staff members to my left, with Chief, Acting Chief, have anything to report on?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's been pretty slow this last few weeks. The only thing of recent was, as you guys might have seen, we had some sort of rumor going around the assistant school regarding a potential active shooter. We've had these in the past. It was a TikTok video that was circulating. In my tenure here, I think this has happened 4 or 5 times with social media. We got ahead of it, looked at it. It seems like it was some sort of just video designed to kind of cause uproar within a local community. It got taken out of context and was reported by the students to faculty, as they should do. Just out of abundance of caution, we are staging officers there and doing extra patrols on the schools, but it doesn't look like anything regarding that was founded in sort of any evidentiary basis. Other than that, we've had a pretty good week. One of our officers a few nights ago stopped a vehicle and recovered about $50,000 worth of stolen sunglasses from basically organized retail theft down in the Bay Area. So we're working with some agencies down there to try and figure out where all that belongs to, but it's looking like it's probably stolen from multiple businesses. So that's all I got for you.
All right, thanks, Sergeant. Mr. Kellogg, Public Works Director, did you want to go over the situation with the wastewater treatment plant and any other items?
That would be excellent. I can go over the prepared statements I have here, or I'm open to questions if you'd rather have me just address.
It's your floor, so go over your
Okay. Some of the things that have come up lately at the wastewater treatment plant, I'll start with the solar panels. We've had the full array of solar panels installed several years now, but we are only able to tie in roughly half, maybe less than half, due to the power grid not being able to accept them all at the time. We have since, mainly because of the power draw of the new wastewater treatment plant and negotiations with Pacific Power, we will now be able to tie in the remainder of the panels at no cost to the city. Johnson Controls is assisting us in doing that, and they predict that we'll have all the panels tied in by the end of October. And that will also begin the performance period for our solar panel system. Other things going on at the wastewater treatment plant, we've been discharging to the golf course now since late spring. Given predictions of precipitation, that will probably continue into November, but it is weather dependent. We are meeting all discharge requirements for the golf course at this time. There is one, the plant's running pretty much to spec, except we are having difficulty with the metals removal, specifically copper and zinc. We are still working on correcting that. It's not an issue right now because it is not a discharge requirement for going to the leach field or going to the golf course. It is a discharge requirement when we go to the river. And so we are looking at November or maybe December before we have to go to the river, and we don't have to. We could always go to the leach field if we needed to. We're trying a new technique. We have been injecting a polymer for the metal removal just prior to the effluent going to the filter system. In researching how this polymer works, it's been pointed out to us that it needs more contact time than it's been getting, so we are moving the injection point to the front of the activated sludge basins. That will make a huge increase in contact time from less than an hour to a number of days. and we're thinking that will correct our issue with the metals removal. We will know more. We've got a delivery of polymers showing up probably early next week, and we're going to put that right online, so we should know by the end of the month if this new solution solves our issue. For just to make note of it, we have been getting order condition violations from State Water Board. And that's kind of, it's not a finable offense. It's not like, okay, you're messing up here. It's more of, we're not meeting a turbidity level of 2 NTU, which is written into our plant operation. It's not a discharge requirement. So we're not violating the discharge requirement by not meeting the 2 NTU. In fact, the only time the NTU comes into play is we have a 5 NTU discharge requirement when we go to the golf course, and we are meeting that. So I won't say it's a non-issue. It's something we want to shoot for, but it's not something Water Board is going to get upset about. But any other questions? Can I elaborate on any of those points for you?
You got some questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Ken, can you help me understand, help all of us understand, with PACE being involved in the design for years of this, and then the manufacturer and the bid winner of the treatment plant having a very specific set of criteria that they're going to need to match or meet. How? I mean, I understand a little bit of this, which is that there are always variables that need to be worked out in the beginning of a fully online wastewater treatment system that you're going to have to dial things in for a while, because every city's wastewater and situations are different. They're all unique. So what I'm trying to get at is this really all we're dealing with is just kind of the dialing in of a system that's quite complex, and it's normal and natural, and these are the things that one has to go through, and or is there some degree of darn, this isn't working like it was supposed to work, and we've got a different category of adjustments or problems that we need to deal with?
And add to that, we'll need to spend
Right.
significant more money to improve on. You mean like PACE? Yeah.
I cannot give you a complete answer. I mean, I have come in at the tail end of this process. I was not involved in the design or the majority of the construction. I have posed the question just recently, mind you, to PACE. What was their design concept for the removal of the metals? I haven't gotten a response yet, but in their defense, it was just a recent inquiry. It puzzles me. Other than that, I would say things are pretty well smoothed out and running well. Now, I've brought up to PACE, and I strongly suspect you've heard this already. Why our pond systems were taken totally offline. Our pond systems were a great buffer when we had big flows coming into the plant, such as I&I and flow and infiltration. It gave us a way of buffering how we could store up and treat as we needed to, material coming in. We don't have that now. We are working with the water board to get at least 1 or 2 of our ponds back online for emergency basis. So we will have that buffer back. When I brought it up to Pace, they told us how they had to make cutbacks in the plant design because of very stringent budget that the state had allotted to us. So we weren't able to design the plant to the full parameters we would have liked. Again, I wasn't here when all that took place, so I can't give you any more detail on that. We're trying to get it all smoothed out and working to our satisfaction. Will that incur some more cost? I don't think so on the metals removal. Some of the other things I'd like to see, like putting the ponds back online, that's going to be an added cost, but that's something we really wanted to have up front anyway, and the state wouldn't fund it. So I suspect we knew we'd have to do it sooner or later to have a system we can really be confident and comfortable with.
Passage of time passes quickly. How long has it been since we've had the new treatment plant up and running? I ask that question because, from my perspective, I think of things like statute of limitations.
Over 6 months. You know, we kind of brought it on slowly, but I'd say it was fully operational 6 months ago. But I'd have to double check that.
All right. And I think that we all look forward to hearing your response from Pace. Thank you.
I think can speak for all of us on that one. Yeah, thank you. You have anything else besides that? Okay, thanks, Ken. Before we move on to city planner, do you folks over in finance have somewhat, at least tentative final numbers on the operating fund for the wastewater treatment plant? Since it's based on fees, user fees, and this is near the end of September. What I'm looking for is a surplus that could go to things like building out the pond.
Not at the tips of our fingers. With a little lead time, we can get you that information.
So hopefully it's running a surplus, hopefully, and there's some reserve for smallish projects like that, instead of having to raise fees. Yeah, talking about the ponds now.
Again, on the ponds, we've already got permission from the state to use the ponds on an emergency basis as is.
Oh, so the cost won't be that?
So, yeah, minimal,
Okay.
up front right now.
Okay.
They're unlined for long-term change of our permit, and where it's no longer an emergency basis, we'd have to line the ponds and come up with a much more reliable pump system to take it from the ponds to the headworks. But that's not a huge cost either, something we can work into our budget over time.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ken. City planner, Jeff.
Yeah, I've got a few things on the planning side. Well, one actually, with 3 subsets of items, but the subject is housing element. The short presentation is that HCD is done with their final review. They've given us a green light for certification of the document pending some clerical, non-substantive changes which relate, one, to proactive outreach to affordable housing developers. So clarity, we already have a program in the document, so clarity around the substance of that, the quantifiable, measurable outcome of that program. The second is clarification about the typical length of time between application intake and application approval for housing projects. That had been estimated on the high side erroneously, so that's been brought down to what is more accurately 1 to 3 months, not 6 to 12 months. And The other were typo, misspelling, whatnot. The changes will get posted to our website. It'll get noticed in the conventional way after a public notice period. That'll go back to HCD. Hopefully that'll check all their boxes, and we'll get the happy letter here in the next 15 to 30 days. So good news on that front. In absentia, Todd has asked, City Manager Todd has asked me to pass on a couple of things to you. One is the landing commercial appraisal came back with the highest and best use study appraised value of $3.1 million, which does not include planned work for the park space, mill pond, and other areas which constitute about 25% of the site area. So the non-green built area is 3.1. I don't have more information than that. I'm not privy to the document itself, but that was just a heads up coming your way, and I'm sure there's more coming your way soon. As for the Chestnut Street 2 unpaved lots, the value uncontaminated is estimated at $100,000. However, the Phase 1 environmental estimated cleanup costs in the $500,000 range, so the actual assessed value is negative. If we kept it in its current function and use, parking could be, again, the highest and best city use. If the city chooses to pursue purchase, the estimate is an asking price in the vicinity of $60,000 to $70,000. And that's all I've got on city manager side.
Thank you, Jeff. And we'll move on to the finance department. Anything at this point? Melissa?
I just wanted to say that this is Muriel's last meeting. And I want to thank you for the support and guidance that you've given me over the last couple of months.
You're welcome.
And I wish you well in your next adventure and chapter.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Muriel, for all the years, and I hope you finish up strong in the next, I guess it's 7-8 days, something like that, right? 4, ooh, this week. I thought it was the 30th, okay. Go get him. All right, does council have any comments at this point? Sure.
Officer Moore, I've heard complaints of signs being stolen, campaign signs being stolen off people's property. What can the police department do about that? Stealing signs is a criminal offense. It's also trespassing.
Yeah, I'd have to double check our call records. I've been out of the office all weekend. I'm not aware currently of any cases within the city limits. We did have some just outside of the city limits in the county. We ended up recovering them. It was juveniles involved in that.
You did get the juveniles or not?
I believe the signs were recovered, or at the very least they were put in contact with the parent. We typically don't try to handle juvenile issues non-criminally. So it was dealt with in that regard. As far as what we can do, just off the top of my head, typically that'd be a petty theft and a trespass, kind of like you're describing. And we would handle that on a case-by-case basis.
Is it possible to put out some sort of announcement that it is a crime?
Yes, we could do that on our Facebook page or something like that. I believe the sheriff's office recently did one similar to that, probably because they're the ones that were experiencing it. I'm not aware of any in town, but I can double check for you on that.
My house included.
Okay. Let me double check on that. Was it over the weekend?
This past week.
Okay. So let me double check on that, and we'll see where we're at with all that.
All right.
So.
Okay, well, that's not very nice. Things being stolen from your block, that's, yeah, it's like, does anyone know that block exists? Yes. All right. So that's all the council has, then I just have a quick, go ahead, Tessa.
Unless you're going to talk about the library?
No.
Tonight. Okay.
I want to talk about the Collier Interpretive and Information Center. Or lack thereof, because it's going to be closed.
Mayor Stackleth and I attended a library committee meeting the week before last, maybe. We met with the group and we are determining next steps. Some of the members are wanting to be modest and go for a condensed version of the plan. Some are wanting to be more gung-ho and do as much as we can when we're all together and have the energy behind us. So before we dissect that further, we want to have city manager come back to us with what the cost was for the plans and then hopefully bring that back to council for a vote so that we can move forward with our current Nolan Tam outsourced people providing the plans, and then we can move forward with which route we want to go.
Yeah, so wasn't the order of operation to find out what Nolan Tam was going to ask for their conceptual work?
Yeah, Todd
And
thought he had
then there'd
that
be
information.
Right, and then we'd go out for request for proposal for whatever concept we ended up choosing, which we haven't done yet because we're not sure what we can afford.
Right.
Yeah. So sadly, we're not really that much closer, mainly due to financial restraints of improving and/or expanding the library. It's going to take some more time, and this process started for me in 2016, but I think it's older than that.
About 2 decades ago that I can think of.
Yeah. So something will happen. It might end up just being a really thorough and well done renovation with very little expansion, because that's where the main costs are when you actually build new square footage with prevailing wage labor costs. So we have options. We'll keep you posted. So Collier Interpretive and Information Center is closed due to the fact that the Collier rest stop is closed, and it's closed because of contaminated water. There's a bit of a dispute if the water is contaminated due to the dam openings, coming down and contaminating the water that they draw from the aquifer in that area. Whatever the case, there is no set time for that thing to reopen. Yeah, so bad water, they don't want to take any chances with people. It's supposed to be potable water so that people can drink it, and they don't want to take any chances with people drinking bad water. So that's by the way, it's Caltrans that closed it. So that rest stop is closed. If you go north, you'll see all kinds of signage that says the rest stop is closed. They're having a meeting right now. They usually have it on Tuesdays, so I'm missing the meeting since I'm here. And from what I can gather, the plan will be to minimize costs while the whole rest stop is closed, and therefore the center is closed. And from my experience driving up and down I-5, some of these rest stop closures last a long time. The weed was closed for some improvements that took a while. One down in Maxwell, whatever was wrong there, I kind of remember taking like a year to reopen or something. So don't be surprised if this takes a long time while Caltrans and the Klamath Dam renewal project people battle it out as to who's responsible for improving the water at that area. Yeah, so that's where we are at that, so I won't be reporting on meetings until they reopen. All right, time to move on to the consent agenda. It's pretty lengthy. Everyone was here. Besides Johanna's comments, a comment about her comments, does anyone have a problem or want to pull any of the items off for further discussion? There's quite a few. In the meantime, Johanna, are you here? Okay, so we have you down as expressing concerns about long-term parking on Pine Street, parking permits for residents, and comments in support of hybrid meetings. What did you want added? No smoking signs on Pine Street? Okay, so no smoking signs in the Pine Street Hospital area. Okay. Yeah, gotcha. So, city planner, that's an amendment to the minutes. Yeah, we're gonna, so the final minutes will include what you just said, okay, Jeff? All right. All right. That's it, we're good to go? All right, I'm gonna read it out.
Yes.
All right, number 7, consent agenda. The city manager recommends approval of the following consent agenda items. All resolutions and ordinances on this agenda or added hereto shall be introduced or adopted as applicable by title only, and the full reading thereof is hereby waived. A, approval of minutes as just amended from the September 9th, 2024 meeting. B, approval of disbursements, accounts payable September 5th and September 10th, 2024. Total gross payroll and taxes for period ending September 1st, 2024. C, memorandum of understanding, Siskiyou County Protein and Produce. D, approval of new job descriptions for deputy city clerk position, which is CCR-28, 24-28, excuse me. E, second reading and adoption of CCO-24-07 graffiti ordinance. F, second reading and adoption of CCO-24-08 short-term rental ordinance. G, Prop 64 audit report resolution CCR-24-29. H, monthly investment report for period ending August 31st, 2024. And I, senior snow removal award of contract to Shasta Brown Incorporated. I'd like to thank Kathy Joyce for helping out with the CCO and CCR numbers. Can I get a motion? Don't forget to say title only.
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent agenda item A as amended, items B through C, D with CCR-24-28, E CCO-24-07, F CCO-24-08, G CCR-24-29, H and I by title only.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
And aye. Any opposed? All right. Temporary city clerk. That is a 5-0 vote. Got it? Yeah. Okay. Oh, no, I'm talking to the tech people.
Oh.
My mic was temporarily off.
You're talking to me.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Okay. Public hearing. All right. So item number 8 has to do with closeout of 20-CDBG-12093, the Pine Street Water System Improvement Project. Muriel Terrell, our finance director, is going to give a brief report on this, and then we'll open up to the public for a hearing on it.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The purpose of this hearing is to update residents on the status of the project. The project has been complete for some time. In fact, I believe it was completed back in December, but we have to go through all of the CDBG hoops to make sure that all of these particular meetings and public hearings are taken care of. There were approximately 275 people who were assisted with improvements to their water system in the Pine Street area. Moving forward, I guess we just need to open it up to public hearing for any input from residents or concerns from residents.
Thank you for that report, but we'll go through our usual format and have counselors ask if they have any clarifying questions. No? No? Okay, folks, the public hearing is open on this item. Would anyone like to come up and speak to the item at hand? Jonna, come on up. Go ahead and repeat your name and place of residence.
Johanna L. Torfer, Mount Shasta, and this is on the Pine Street Water Project, right? Okay. So I didn't really understand all the implications of this coming up at the meeting tonight, so I sent an email off to the city, which I had some damage to the sidewalk as backhoes were on it, and at the time the cracks were fairly insignificant. 2 of the slabs were replaced, but the other 2 cracks were insignificant, and I just don't, and this year, over the winter, as concrete does, it expands and contracts with the cold and the heat, extreme temperatures that we have, and so I know it's a concern because it happened to my driveways as well from the snowplow, so I mean, I know how this works, so I mean, it doesn't look bad now, but once the integrity of the concrete is broken, it's basically gone, because underneath it's all like mush. And so I just want to make sure that that does not get dropped off the list by closing out this project tonight. That's all. And overall, I think I'm super happy with the project. We had a little issue with like an incorrect part at my hookup for the lateral, and I noticed something was wrong, and they came out and they fixed it and, you know, got it all corrected. And we had some water taste quality issues, and chlorine from the pipes that I could taste that I was told there was none. But in the end, you know, it all worked out, and we have great water now, so I'm really, really happy, so thank you. So, yeah. But I just don't want to, like, lose the opportunity to get this replaced because it happened from the project, and I provided pictures before and after at the time, as well as the backhoe sitting on the sidewalk. And, you know, the branches that broke from the tree I don't care about, but anyway, that's all. So thank you. So maybe you can explain what this means with what you're doing tonight.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks,
thank you.
Johanna. Public Works Director, you noted her request for sidewalk help. It's complicated though, so because we have our ordinance regarding sidewalk work, yeah.
Are you asking for input?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to comment on this one. It's just that we're closing this project out, and I don't believe that issue that was just mentioned was discussed until just now.
Johanna has brought this up in the past,
Yeah.
that the backhoe had been parked on her sidewalk. I haven't seen the pictures, but I believe that she does have pictures of the backhoe on the sidewalk. We're talking quite a bit of time has passed, and to without doubt say that the crack in the sidewalk was caused by the construction, I find it a very difficult leap. There is definitely a crack in the sidewalk. I went out and checked it, and it's probably a little bigger than last year. But was it caused by the construction? I just can't make that statement.
Okay, so the question is going to be, is there any other public comments, public speakers regarding this project? So the question is whether we can close this item, this project, and I'm going to refer to the expert on CDBG. I will in a second, yeah.
For all intent purposes, the contract is closed. The construction is done. The thing that would have to happen is that we would have to reach out to the construction contractor because they're within the warranty period, I believe, for that type of stuff to figure out if that's what the road we would go down to see if there's some sort of fix for her complaint.
Okay.
But as far as CDBG has paid us every penny that the grant was entitled to, so that, as far as that goes, that's done. There would need to be a determination made by probably a third party to figure out if indeed they could opine that that particular problem was caused by the contractor or not. But in any event, that's where the liability would lie.
All right, so thank you, Muriel. Any other public speakers, commentators to this item? All right, so I'll close the public hearing on this item at this point. The object of this agenda item is to go through the process that CDBG requires, and that is what we're doing. As for the particulars of the item that was brought up by the public speaker, that can be handled separately. Would you say it's correct? Okay, and we'll go forward from there. All right, Johanna? Okay, it's going to be dealt with separately.
It will be noted, and CDBG will be notified, because part of what happens when public comment like this happens is we report back as to what was said, and that will be reported back to them.
And we move forward on that particular. So we close out the CDBG grant closure process, and this issue will be handled by Public Works et al. All right, Johanna, that's the best we can do for you at this meeting, okay? Thank you. And with that said, does council want to continue on this item? It's not a actionable item per se. Tim? No? Okay. So we'll close item number 8 and move on to item number 9, which is a substantial one close to my heart, and I think it's closer to Jeff's heart. Item number 9 is regarding the process of and cost recovery for snow removal in the downtown area. Now, this is a very specific downtown area. There's been some commentary about how we deal with snow in peripheral areas of the city and other main streets in the city, but this is about a particular district, so to speak, and the item will be introduced by Ken Kellogg, the Public Works Director.
City Council, Mr. Mayor, I will read through the staff notes. Basically, currently the city does not charge residential or commercial accounts for plowing the streets. The city does charge accounts for clearing sidewalks and for center plowing of the snow in the downtown area where it's loaded with our front end loaders and put into dump trucks and hauled away. Under this proposal, the city would minimize the center plowing, loader removal, and sidewalk clearing services as we pay contractors prevailing wage, and it is a costly process to do this. All billing charges to customers getting snow removal services would be finalized by June 30th of the end of the year, and the customers would be charged via their utility bills for the following 12 months. In other words, the lump sum would be calculated at the end of the snow season, but then the payments would be paid the following year, spread over 12 payments. Instead, we wouldn't be going after a lump sum. The proposal is the city will center plow, remove snow from medians, and clear sidewalks on Chestnut and Mount Shasta Boulevard from Alma to Water Street, including all cross streets. Snow would be cleared on both sides of Chestnut from Lake to Alma. Then snow would be removed from the median and sidewalks would be cleared. The north side of Mount Shasta Boulevard from Alma to East Jesse would be plowed to the west side of the street, consistent with current practices. No snow removal or sidewalk clearing services would be available from the city. From just studying the situation, it appears well, this is up for discussion. It appears that the width of roadway frontage is the most equitable way to allocate charges as opposed to building square footage. I feel that's up for debate, but the council can make a ruling on that. Basically, what this is doing is it's shrinking the area where we do the center plowing and snow removal. Going south on Mount Shasta Boulevard, it will end at Water Street, where it used to go all the way down to Sisson. On Chestnut, going north, it will stop at Alma instead of going all the way up to Ivy. What it will add is snow removal on the sidewalks on the east side of Chestnut. We haven't done it in the past because of how narrow it is, but we are looking, if this passes, we'd be looking at adding an additional piece of equipment that could handle sidewalks as narrow as 4 feet. And also you'll see that in the Exhibit A, which shows the area we are discussing. And B is just a recap of expenses, proposed expenses. Now this example is based on square footage, building square footage versus lineal footage of the property. I would seek guidance from the council on what they would see, what they would prefer as far as building, square footage of the buildings receiving this service, or lineal footage of the properties receiving this service.
All right. So, council clarifying questions portion of this agenda item may also include some clarification by Mr. Collings with Jeff.
Whoa, there we are. Ken, I'll be back here a little bit. Do you think it's fair to do, no, it's not me, it's gotta be, is that those guys? Do you think square footage or lineal frontage feet is the best way to do this? Is the fairest way to do this?
From the studies I've done, I feel the square footage is more equitable.
Right. I thought we were in agreement about that.
I did too, but I was reading the staff notes and it looked like it got altered.
Yeah, not by one of the two of us, so I'm trying
Okay.
to go. I don't know where that came from, but.
It wasn't for me, so.
Okay, then we will, unless someone feels otherwise, we will base it on square footage.
Well, aren't there businesses within this district that are on the second story
And that
and benefit from
definitely played part of why I feel it's more equitable.
Several businesses.
Yes.
I can think of buildings with a lot of, I think the square footage way to go is best in this case.
The only reason the lineal footage came up was because it was going to be pushed down to Water Street, and because what used to be the gallery, I don't know what it's called now, and
the Singing Bowl Place.
Right, Singing Bowl Place, and then further down Berryville have such small square footage but large linear footage,
right,
including their parking lot, and that's why it was up for discussion, to just go, wait a minute, how do we bring fairness to that relative to square feet when their linear frontage is so much greater? And ultimately, because of issues that you brought up, the second story thing, ultimately it's like we'll get as close as we can get, and square footage is the way to go. It just can't be worked out fairly any other way.
Do we have consensus on that? The resolution has square footage as the language for calculating the billings. Mr. Stearns? Okay.
I did check the resolution and it does say square footage.
Right. And with that, we'll go to public comment. Oh, you do? Go ahead.
On Exhibit B, I'm trying to follow the math that's laid out. Are these what it would cost per square foot to cover the cost of the city in each year? Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. Want to go John? We're going to go Jeff.
Just thinking about the sidewalks that way, can we expand a couple spots that way to include what would be the say cheese and donuts sidewalk wrapping around? I'm just thinking about the ADA with wheelchairs or anything. Right now, we've got some of this, but some of the other spots, like the block your business is on, with everything, finishing it off, doing the other half of the block just for ADA purposes that way. Is that a possibility, just to add those to, basically Maple Street is what I'm saying we add.
It's definitely doable if that's what the council would like. Admittedly, the Say Cheese parking area, the sidewalk is not heavily used. It's the parking area and the boardwalk.
There's just also by the bank going around.
True. There
That part,
definitely is a sidewalk.
And
but
then just the rest of the sidewalk from Enzo's Wealth wrapping around up there to the Singing Bowl coming around.
Yeah.
On Main Street that way.
There's a lot of sidewalk with no frontage there. There is on the east side, quite a bit by the bank. It didn't get thrown in because we didn't see a lot of heavy use. But if the council would like to see it added in.
From my concern is just that it's just kind of been a bugaboo of mine during the heavy winters that way, heavy snows, that some of the sidewalks don't get cleared out, and I feel like anybody disabled or in a wheelchair is not able to get to any of these businesses as far as like on Maple that way, judging by what we're looking at.
And this is because I really can't recall, but does Say Cheese have a handicap ramp? It does at the far end.
It does at the
Yeah.
Off the area that we do plow. I mean, we plow that end of Lake Street where the handicap ramp is.
Yeah, you do. I've had to park there and use it. Yeah.
But
Not that I'm handicapped.
that's not to say we can't enlarge this area.
That's basically what I.
Okay, so Jeff has some thoughts on that particular.
Okay, all right.
You bring up a great question, which is there's risk associated with not plowing certain areas. And because we're a prevailing wage city and we're going to center plow these areas, how fast can we get rid of another risk, which is leaving these center plowed berms up where people are turning left and can't see oncoming traffic, issues with emergency fire equipment being able to pass through those center plowed areas. And so not because it's correct, but it's because what we ended up choosing was we'll minimize the area that we center plow.
No, I'm not talking about the center plowing. I'm just talking about the sidewalks on Maple Street. Not a center plow.
So you don't want to center plow Maple Street, you just want
I just want to see the sidewalks get plowed on Maple Street for ADA reasons.
Just the east side.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the center berm that way.
You don't care. Do you care about the west side?
Both sides of Maple Street, yes. Just both sidewalks going along. You're not you got the one going along the Valero. Hit that one, just hit that one, then going up the sidewalk that's not covered. Where are we at? That's not covered with the post office. Like the sidewalk on the post office wouldn't be plowed. Just plow that sidewalk.
Well,
And then,
Ken, pardon me for jumping in here,
sidewalk,
but
basically any piece of sidewalk on Maple Street, I'm asking to be plowed.
one of the issues we had, and I hear what you're saying, and the answer would be sure, except we're going to charge for these services at prevailing wage. And so the people who live along those Maple Streets are going to get a bill
So we build
from us.
I got a bill coming because you're doing my side of the street now.
Well, but you're getting two things. You're getting your parking spaces cleared and removed via dump truck, which is expensive, in addition to sidewalk clearing. This would be a different category of service, wouldn't it?
It would be difficult. The sidewalk clearing and the center plowing kind of go hand in hand, because typically if we plow to the side of the road, quite often we bury the sidewalks. So it would be difficult for us to plow to the side of the road, bury the sidewalks, and then open them up again. When we center plow, we can actually go through, do the sidewalks first, put it out in the street, and then the plows come along center plow, and then we haul it all away. But to do one without the other is logistically pretty tough.
You could be able to just push the snow into one pile where it's not impacting anything?
I'm trying to think, right there, the sidewalks are right on the edge of the street, and that's, when we plow to the sides, we bury the sidewalk.
Well, I'm just thinking if you're going down the sidewalk, say you're right there at USA Bank, and you're heading towards Napa on that sidewalk. You push it out, and then push it across the street into a pile somewhere where there's no parking spot or something, and then the other sidewalk from the Lotus Blossom Shop, Century 21 and all that, you just push that snow to the same kind of pile spot.
We could where there are no businesses on the west side, but where there's businesses on the west side, we couldn't. Like in front of the boardwalk, we couldn't do that. In front of the bank, we probably could because there's nothing on the other side. But then we just have that one segment that's cleared. It's kind of an island. I don't see where it would benefit anybody if the sidewalks on either side are full.
Anyways, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay.
I don't think it sounds that tough, but just put a pile somewhere just to keep the sidewalks clean, just for ADA reasons. It's a short distance. It's not. It's a small amount. We can get work done is all I'm asking.
How about we experiment this winter, but I don't see it working well.
Okay, so this is a resolution. We'll get back to, after public comment, we'll come back and hammer that detail out and make it part of the resolution, I guess. Or not, and just making it an experimental.
Thank you guys. Good luck on your badges.
Have a good night. All right, it's public comment time for item number 9 regarding the snow plowing district. Would anyone like to speak to this? Name and city of residence.
David Ream, Mount Shasta. Just for the record, there's no packet available to the public, and there's no agendas available to the public. On page 86 of your agenda, it reads, quote, snow would be cleared on both sides of Chestnut from Lake to Alm, end quote. Here is a typo. Alm is missing the second A. To continue, the quote, then snow will be removed from median and sidewalks will be cleared, end quote. I have lived here for 31 years and never has the city removed snow from my sidewalk. Why now? Also, on this page, it reads, quote, it appears that the width of roadway frontage is the most equitable way to allocate charges, end quote. Contrary to the Declaration of Equability in the whereases on page 88, in number 3, quote, billing should be based upon the square footage of commercial space, end quote. So which is it? My commercial space is 0. So will I be charged nothing? My roadway footage is a different matter. On my 300 block, I am pretty sure Olga, Cindy, Melissa, and Lana will not like paying for snow removal off the sidewalks. On the 400 block of Chestnut, I doubt if Derek, Perusha, Chris, John, Denise, or Mrs. King likewise will enjoy an increase in their monthly utility bill. I do recall quite clearly one council member publicly complaining unshoveled sidewalks. Meanwhile, during the winter of 22-23, he parks his car on the sidewalk and encouraged his customers to do the same in front of the Dream Inn. This parking style had complete approval of the Mount Shasta PD, which I personally witnessed in my watching RT in his police car cruise by slowly twice in his police car twice in response to my calling in the dispatcher the impropriety of parking on the sidewalk. I brought this to your attention of City Council subsequently with only crickets as a response.
All right, we're down to two other people in the audience. Any comments? Johanna, come on up. Name and city, please.
Johanna, Mount Shasta. Sorry, but I feel like I want to bring this up because we're talking about sidewalk clearance. And one of the things I've brought to your attention in past years is Pine Street, because it's a main artery. We spent a lot of money on the walk, bike, ride study, and that the WBR study indicated that Pine Street is a main artery. I personally see people walking, jogging, scootering, horseback riding last week into town, in the snow, in electric wheelchairs, and I kind of feel like sidewalk clearance should be included for Pine Street. It is a main artery, and people do use it when we have a lot of snow. They're, the day after it snows, I see people walking into town again, and it's hard for them because there's no place for them to walk because of the berms. We humans can't really get rid of the berms, so I'd actually like to see center plow there. But anyway, so I would like to see, and currently the city plows the sidewalk from Lassen Bridge to the edge of the Golden Eagle empty lots, which is right next to me. So that part is cleared, so then we just need to kind of extend one side further down to like the Chevron station at Lake Street. And then I sent some comments to you guys about this, and I'm not sure if this is different than the senior program. Is this a different agenda item than the senior program? Okay. I think the comments I had there was, okay. Okay, well, anyway, hold on a second, I can't find, where's my, one second, 923 comments, okay, here, snowplow. Oh, and I think it would be more equitable for businesses and properties to be on whatever the actual, the lineal footage of the against the street, because you're penalizing people who have bigger buildings in town if you go based on square footage of the building. So I'm just wondering if that actually makes financial sense. Yeah, and I think the rest of my comments were related to the other items. So that was it on this. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other commentators? No. All right, so we'll close public comment on this item, bring it back to City Council. What shall we do, folks? Jeff, I'll let you start.
Ken, how about we separate the proposal as it is and separately spend some more time, take it back into subcommittee and get your input and walk the area and just spend some more time figuring out what's entailed, what are the options there? Yeah, that way, because I'd like to look at it and, you know, get better input, because you know it apparently better than I do at the moment. I'd like to.
Well, it's just been just a pet peeve of mine, just seeing how just a lot of sidewalks not cleared off, and just when, I don't know, just, I don't like the ADA, what's the word I'm looking for, just inaccessibility that way. So just as far as just, I mean, I like what you got going here, but I just, like I said, just want to see Maple Street included. So just as far as that kind of little downtown spot that way, it's by the post office, it's by downtown, just see Maple Street that way. But yeah, work on that.
Okay, so right now, can help out here. Who is billed for this service? What area? What, I mean,
Is everybody in bold position for John's part, or what's already in the packet?
so all these people here that are, these are residential places. Are they billed something now?
$12.
Everybody in that zone is billed $12.
Well, they'll start getting billed at.
But this is a different rate structure. But the actual users paying the fee will not change. The set of users is not changing via this. Except,
All this is going bye-bye. So no more berms.
but we're not sure if we're not sure they were paying.
Right.
We're not sure if people beyond that were paying for anything.
On the east side.
And over,
Right. Those
Yeah,
were,
I wasn't getting charged over here.
you were not.
yeah, where you were pointing, they weren't paying either.
So,
No, this is all new.
and so they're going to take a fee that they weren't before. They're going to be charged a fee. And going in this direction, did it stop at Water Street, the billing too?
Billing stopped at the other side of the post office lot.
So Alpine,
At Alpine.
Wait, didn't it stop at Mikey Tony's, or were they the first block that didn't get?
They're on the other side.
But BMI had to? Not BMI.
Which place is this?
But MPI?
MPI is further
Yeah,
down.
nobody down there was paying.
Nobody down there was, okay. I thought it was.
Even though it was center plowed, nobody was paying.
If I can clarify, in terms of the sidewalks, the sidewalks that were plowed and for which there was a fee were the sidewalks inside the Business Improvement District. So if you look at that, the ordinance and that map for the district, that was the area that had sidewalk plowing for which the property owners paid. Now, I think the intent is to expand somewhat.
Certainly on the east side of Chestnut for
Right.
3 blocks. And then what about, Jeff, what about this block, McLeod to Orem? They weren't paying either?
They weren't paying.
But now they would.
That's not gonna be plowed going up those streets.
No, right here.
But on the east side, yeah, I think they were paying.
They were.
Yeah, across from the bistro and all that.
They were. And so were these folks down here. So you're pretty sure about,
Yeah, those guys were not.
they were not.
Ones from Water to Alpine,
Right here, this section, we're not?
I don't think so, no. Nobody was paying. That's outside the district, past Alpine.
So, yeah, this whole side.
It was happening for them, they just weren't paying.
Well, we were recipients of the plowing, but not the sidewalk. Now we're going to be paying for
Okay.
the sidewalk. Pardon us, sir.
So we are then expanding the district, sidewalk plowing district, and Councilmember Redmond would like to expand it even more.
Well,
include Maple Street.
We're we are shrinking the amount that's actually going to be plowed and cleared, and we're expanding the amount of people who will actually pay for it.
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Yeah, and so there may be some pushback from people who weren't paying before. So,
Well, there's already there's already some downtown business owners that don't like the fee structure, so we got that to work with too.
but go ahead, Testa.
When we brought this up, it was after the really busy snow year, and the word on the street was that business owners were having a lot of trouble with foot traffic, and I think the intent of the council, at least from my perspective, was to have a really inviting downtown where people could walk downtown and get around easily, even during the snowstorms, have it be as inviting then as it would be in the summer, and I think that this does that, so thank you.
May I make a comment?
Yeah.
One thing Mr. Ream did bring up, item 3 under where it says, now therefore be it resolved. It does say billing shall be prorated on the basis of commercial space square footage. I would draw from that properties along Chestnut that are not zoned commercial or are not being used as a commercial entity would not be billed. I'm not sure. I'm asking the council what their intent would be there.
Yeah. So, do we want to clarify this before
So
we vote on it?
residential would get the services and not have to pay?
Essentially.
No. Would I be able to just say, no, I don't want to pay and just shovel my own sidewalk then if the residents aren't getting paid?
The way I read
getting
this,
that billed,
if you have a business permit, you're a commercial operation on Chestnut, and this section of Chestnut, you would be billed.
But not the residents.
That's up for you guys to decide, but the way it's written right now, the way I read it, and I'm not a lawyer, but the way I read it is it would be for commercial square footage, not residential square footage.
And we make it both.
You may do that.
I'm not getting a free service. Why should anybody else?
Well, there would have to be language added to this to clarify that residential structures in this zone would be charged something.
Yeah, even if it's half of what we're getting, like in the 22-23 model where we're paying 27 cents per square foot, maybe half of that for residential. And then they get half. So then last year where we're the 1.3 cents per square foot, they get half of that.
Mayor,
But if they're going to get all these services, they're getting charged. I'm not paying for them to get free services.
hold on
So now
just a
your
second.
turn to talk.
Yeah, hold on. This is the commercial district. The distinction between commercial properties and residential properties both lie in the commercial district. And the commercial district, as Councilmember Klur pointed out, we're trying to have clear sidewalks so people can walk around and not intermittently force people to walk out into the street.
I'm hearing you.
And so we want to have it be consistent. That said, just my having thought about it a while on this subcommittee thing, I don't think services, which are really expensive prevailing wage services, should be intermittently charged or even distinctively charged, meaning residential units on the commercial district versus commercial units in the commercial district. For me, they're getting the same service, you pay the same rate. And that's why we came out with that. I'm not saying that's correct. That was just the best, after all, our thinking in all these permutations and looking at all this. That's why we ended up where we ended up, which is you get the same service, you pay the same rate. Now, maybe that's not the right thing to do. I don't know, but that's what our going in is.
So that's where I'm at.
So the question is if this needs to go back to staff for additional language regarding residential structures within this commercial district and what their rate would be, since I'm not sure the square footage
To the chair.
would make sense, because yeah.
I think I agree that if you are in the commercial downtown district, that you will have to pay. Otherwise, we're going to be chasing, is someone running a business out of it? Is someone not? I think it's easier to say you are in the district, which is our major downtown area.
Is this area,
Yeah,
with the possible inclusion of Maple Castle. How
that makes sense to me.
That little bit of castle, yes,
Yeah.
is part of it.
Okay, well, we can maybe decide that tonight. Go ahead, Tessa. Well, it's the rate then. Do you have any thoughts on the rate for what is an outright residential building? Because
I would calculate,
the 400 block of Chestnut's got some residences there.
I would calculate the residence by width and do the square footage of business.
Square footage of business, linear square, linear.
Mayor, I apologize, I was not able to hear because two people were talking.
My recommendation would be linear width for residential, linear width for residential, and square footage for commercial.
So that would require an item number 4 here, I think, where it says now therefore, that section, I think. What do you think, Tim?
I would suggest that, I think there's been good discussion tonight.
Yep.
I think it ought to go back to staff and come back to us
Well, I agree
in a
with that.
clean version.
I want to give him a little more direction before we do that.
And I see,
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Before you send it back to staff, just one thing to consider. As Tessa touched on, all these properties are part of the commercial district. They all benefit by being part of the commercial district, whether they're residential or commercial. Their property values are better. There's a value to being there. There's a value to getting your sidewalk cleared, street parking cleared. I know I brought this up. I threw this stick in the spokes, but I think it should just be a standard charge right across the board, and
That's square footage, so that means you're going to have.
just cross out that
someone's
word
going to-
commercial.
Someone's going to have to look up the square footage of all these residential buildings, because I'm thinking that the commercial buildings, for some reason, we know what the square footage is.
Yeah, that's already been added up.
It wouldn't be hard to do. You could
wouldn't be
do it
hard
off
to
of
do?
Google Maps.
Well, yeah, then there's end plan and so forth, yeah, it's not hard to do.
I think Council Clure raised a good proposal that we ought to consider. That being square footage for commercial
Outright commercial buildings, right?
and, how did you describe it?
Frontage,
The linear width of residential.
the frontage.
Frontage, yeah.
Frontage for residential.
What do you think, Ken?
I don't know what the numbers would be in that sort of thing.
Well, I'm
But
guessing it's
preliminary,
going to
that
be.
sounds like
It's going to be smaller and
approach.
therefore more palatable to the residences benefiting from the service, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to give staff direction to come up with that formula? Okay, so is that something Public Works Director has heard?
Okay, to simplify my life and everyone else's, what I'd probably suggest is we pick a minimum square footage for residential that is no larger than the smallest house in that area, and say, okay, residential is X square footage. That's what we bill it on.
Okay, so that would be line 4 for when you return with this in the second Monday in October. That would be line 4 in the now therefore. And Mrs. Stearns has more thoughts?
Well, before we leave this matter, I think that Joanna raised a good question about the sidewalk from the hospital to downtown. Clearing that, because there are a lot of people who do, in fact, walk on that sidewalk. Has Public Works any thoughts about that?
Like, create another district?
I will reiterate what I said earlier, and some winters, it would not be an issue. Other winters, where we're plowing to the side of the road, that would be a very difficult task to accomplish because of the big berms we would build up on the sidewalks.
To the chair, I think that would also raise a lot of, what about McLeod Avenue, that's a major artery, and South Mount Shasta Boulevard?
Yeah, so I'm gonna cut the discussion short on creating more new districts regarding plowing, because that's really what we're doing here. And it's an interesting subject and something that can be developed next council, right when it's snowing and we're seeing how much we really do have to figure this out, assuming I'm still here.
27 cents.
But it's really not germane to what we have. This is about a particular district that already exists and where people are already paying a fee of a whopping $12, which is the same as they paid in 1982, so that should be more like 48-ish probably, 4 times as big now. You people are getting away with murder. And so let's just stick to the subject. The only other item would be item number 5, or maybe fit somewhere else up there, which would be the Maple Street west part of Castle Street addition to this district. So do we want to give staff direction to do that? I know you think so. Over here.
I heard the Public Works Director indicate that that would be a difficult thing to do and would not provide a continuous sidewalk, if I understand correctly, which I think was the idea of having continuous sidewalk.
Yes. Again, to do it correctly, I feel it needs to be center plowed. To reliably keep the sidewalks clear would require it to be center plowed for the full charges. And we don't have sidewalks all the way. Well, we do. Okay, let's look at Castle Street. Yes, in front of Napa, we definitely have the sidewalks that clear, and it does wrap around all the way past the big vacant stretch. And then we do have shops. On the south side of Castle there, we have sidewalks elevated off the street. So we would skip that area, would be your concept?
Start with the elevated?
There's an elevated sidewalk that goes up to the Crystal Shop from,
Oh, the stairway there? No, I'm not worried about that. But you can't get anything down there anyway. It's pretty narrow.
okay, so maybe we put this down as a tentative addition to the resolution. How about that, Public Works Director? You think about it, and if you think it's a very undoable concept, plan, possibility, say so at the next meeting. If you think it is, tell us how it can work.
All right. And John,
Well, we had talked about the 3 of us walking it. Let's have the 3 of us walk
Love
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll leave that open as a possibility. The Maple West Castle Street addition to the district. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to make a motion to continue this to the first meeting in October. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did you say aye?
I did.
Any nays? No, so we'll continue this. That's a 5-0 vote. Thanks for your help, Ken. All right. So, the problem with the next item is whether we're actually, and I think Mr. Stearns brought up a good point, whether we're actually at the point where we're choosing making the final decision on our marketing awardee, contractor, or we're simply hearing the proposal. So we'll definitely hear the proposal, and then I'd like council's thoughts as to whether we're continuing. I know your thoughts. You think we probably should come back for one more meeting on this, right? Yeah, I think I agree with you, because whereas this particular candidate has shown up a lot and is certainly working hard, it's probably appropriate to invite the others one more time to see if they'll show up at the first meeting in October. And if they do, great. If they don't, then it's pretty straightforward. So, Josh, would you like to make your presentation?
So the presentation, the proposal was sent, God, this is 4 weeks ago now. And 2 weeks ago, when we had made public comment, Todd should have given you all the updated marketing proposal, which I hope you got and looked over, which was really not that different. But with the help from Nick Deck, who was the marketing consultant, we added in some additional ad spend, as well as utilizing influencers and increasing ad spend. And in adding his consultant company for 3 months of additional consulting for ad campaigns specifically. So the proposal is really not that much different. We also gave public comment on it last time, which pretty much highlighted the differences. So I'm not sure what it is you'd like me to go over specifically.
Well, you got option 1 and option 2. Why don't you
pretty simple.
Just cover it real briefly, and we'll talk about it, I guess. I'm sorry about the lack of clarity as to our decision-making process on this, but.
So what was it that you'd like?
Just go over option 1.
Okay.
What constitutes option 1, and what's the difference between it and option number 2
Okay, so
for the audience at hand?
Gotcha. So work option 1 is 6 high-quality posts and reels and 30 stories per month on social media. That's Facebook and Instagram, to be specific. 1 high-production video per year, which we've kind of done seasonal videos in the past, and we feel like utilizing 1 high-quality video to do everything, all seasons, and we can also add businesses and activities as well. A light website overhaul to make sure everything's updated, and based off our analytics, we've gotten information about like churn rate, bounce back, what's kind of working, what's not. And so just kind of tightening up that website and polishing it up, making sure all information for businesses is accurate. And then kind of the big thing is $1,000 per month of ad spend, which is what I heard the council wanted, was to increase that ad spend pretty significantly. So that would be 4 times the amount as before. And again, with Nick Deck, the consultant, he recommended between $500 and $1,000 per month minimum. And that also includes YouTube account management. And if you look at the proposal here, everything that's bold is kind of the new additions. Higher customer relationship engagement, which is interacting with the people commenting on our posts, asking questions about where can I find a campsite, where can I go for this, and so responding to them, which takes a lot of time. And then, of course, the quarterly analytics and reporting on all social media and website traffic. And then at the bottom there is the Heroes and Sidekicks, which is Nick Deck's consulting company for 3 months at $400 per month. 2 is, scope of work option 2 is 5 high quality posts and reels, so that's 1 less than option 1. 30 stories per month, which is the same light website overhaul and tightening up of that. The ad spend, $750 per month, so that would be $250 per month lower. Still with the YouTube account management, still with the higher customer relationship engagement, still with the quarterly analytics reporting on all social media, and also with the Heroes and Sidekick marketing consulting for 3 months. But that is also subtracting a high production video, that one high production video per year, which could also be, I recommended it to be that kind of 4 seasons, all seasons, businesses, all inclusive, just, you know, basically a trailer for Mount Shasta, but it also can be changed up to the discretion of the subcommittee. If they want to do a 4th of July video, we can do that too. So it is up to them.
All right, very, very good. Thanks for reviewing that. Hold tight. Questions, council members, to Josh? Been here several times in a row. He is showing up to promote his business, and nobody else has. So, any questions? Okay. So I'm going to let Josh go at this point, go to public comment. Just following the regular format.
All good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep.
We have 2 other, we have 2 members left in the audience. Anyone want to comment on this? Who's the third? Oh, Johanna's back there. Okay. Okay. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. We'll close public comment on the marketing program. Back to council for commentary, thoughts, discussion.
On the agenda, the direction from staff is to approve the updated marketing proposal. I think that Josh has shown his dedication, that we've had ample opportunity for the other 2 candidates to show. So I would say let's end it tonight and make a motion.
And why do you think that's a bad idea, Tim?
My concern is that the agenda indicates that we have narrowed our selection to Josh Thomas, and I think we're all favorably impressed with Josh Thomas, but our direction to staff was to go back to the 3 presenters and give them an opportunity to come forward, all 3 of them to come forward with revisions. And apparently that didn't occur. So I think that if we were to take action tonight, we would be violating the process.
Jeff, are you familiar with that?
I am not.
Okay.
So by process, you mean the request for proposal and analysis of qualifications of the proposals?
Exactly. It would be an irregularity.
And did Todd let you know that?
Todd said, my understanding is Todd thought that we had narrowed it down to Josh and just wanted to have Josh give modification or proposal, but that was not my understanding of City Council's action at the meeting.
So my thought was that the other parties were being contacted and they just stopped coming to this.
Right.
So naturally, there's one man, one group, one business left standing. So that's kind of where I thought this was going. But you think there should be one more opportunity for these folks to make a presentation?
I do. The idea was to have Nick Deck's comments go back to all 3 of them and have all 3 have the opportunity to modify their proposals for the City Council. Apparently, there was a miscommunication somewhere, and as is apparent from the agenda description.
Well, it was my interpretation that it was apparent from the agenda description because Josh was the only one showing up. So it's hard to understand whether the other 2 didn't respond when Josh did, or there was a lack.
Part of the problem is that the person that was leading this, the city manager, is not here. So we're not sure what happened. Whether he did contact Tragically Glib and they just stopped showing up, and then the other party, the third party, same thing. And that's where that's what I read into what was going on, is that they were getting, but I'm not sure, because he's not here.
Based upon my emails with him, it sounded like the city's information or NICDEC's information did not go to all three. And therefore, if that's the way the agenda was written, because my understanding is Todd thought that we had already focused just on Josh. We put out, there was an RFP for that 3 proposers responded to. They should be given equal opportunity to modify their proposals. Once they've done that, and all 3 have presented, if all 3 choose to present, then it'd be appropriate to make a decision. Otherwise, I think we're engaging in a improper procedure.
Well, I think, given that the city manager's not here to clarify what's going on, I really don't think we have a choice. Staff over here has no information to pass on to us regarding this from city manager, unless Jeff just got some news. Finance department.
Received yet, so I don't.
So it seems that it would behoove us to continue this to the first meeting in October, and see who shows up. I'm sure Josh will.
You'll be really well versed on city happenings.
We won't ask you to repeat this, so I mean, and you could just, be in the audience. But what other choice do we have? I don't really see a choice. You want to move? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move that we continue this matter until the first meeting in October.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Temporary clerk, it's 5-0 on the continuation of this item. Josh, I apologize, but I think you might get the impression that we look upon your proposal very favorably. So hang in there. We have one other main agenda item, and it's from the city planner to get direction regarding an item that's been on the future agenda item for a while, and it's about parklets and sidewalk dining. So I'll let the city planner introduce this, and we'll talk about where to go from here.
Yeah, so to be clear, what we're trying to do is separate the discussion of the temporary parklets that exist in front of Sparky's and Pipeline from sidewalk dining as a spill out, abutting restaurants only. So 2 separate regulatory frameworks. The very simple tweak that we're asking for direction from you all on is the latter, which is very simply adding an item J to section 12.34030 of our encroachments onto city property ordinance. That would clarify the following, and this is a very simple tweak to potential legislation which could take up 5 pages of ordinance. That's the other pendulum swing. This is about as simple and as effective as it gets with respect to spill-out dining. Temporary encroachments requested by owners of food establishments for the placement of movable chairs and tables along established frontage only for sidewalk dining, maintaining a minimum 4-foot clear path, subject to approval by Mr. Kellogg. That's all we're throwing your way for discussion. Direct us, and we'll take it.
So when we have the parklet item on, we have had it on the future agenda item for a while. Is that what this that item was referred to as this particular?
No, this sort of sets the stage for a little more robust legislation that will be coming.
Okay, so this is a precursor
Yes.
to a full-blown parklet recoding?
Right,
Ah,
right.
okay, all right, interesting. Clarifying questions, folks? This is not an actionable item per se, we're just giving direction tonight, right? Okay.
How wide is the standard sidewalk, like in front of the new restaurant that just went in?
What is it, Ken? Back a side? Yeah, back a curb.
Baldovino.
Standard sidewalk, back curb to building faces.
It really varies. Downtown, it can be 8 foot.
About 8 feet, I'm being told on average. So tabletops, I think out in front of Theory right now, those are a new permit. That comes to us and we reviewed it and made sure we had accessibility pathway maintained.
Clarification? All right, we have to go to public comment on this. We have 2 people in the audience. 3, Johanna. Sorry, I don't know what to think about that. She's way back there.
David Ream, Mount Shasta. Sidewalks. I love a good sidewalk. It is a concrete issue. I enjoy walking compared to driving. I know the health benefits of walking. I know that walking is a lot safer on sidewalks than streets. Most importantly, when snowy, icy conditions prevail, a walker's prime directive is to not fall on your ass. For the past 5 years, I've been accompanied by my dear Athena, a long-haired, purebred German Shepherd. Let's say my width is 2.5 feet while walking. Add our leash and my dog's width totaling 3 feet, we would need a grand total of almost 6 feet to safely walk on the sidewalk. Now imagine 2 dog owners walking in the opposite direction. Even 2 poor humans without dogs walking in opposite directions would require 5 feet or more to pass each other. Besides chairs and tables taking up sidewalk space, we also have merchants displaying their wares on the public sidewalk, i.e. Ace Hardware and Soul Connection. I propose to establish safer sidewalks for pedestrians to not allow either merchandise, chairs, or tables on the public sidewalk. Outside the downtown area, pedestrians literally are risking life and limb. We go from non-existing sidewalks to the streets to advance our walk. Some sidewalks have gaps of more than 6 inches in grade, and some are more akin to seesaws, actually moving upon placing one's weight on the concrete. Mr. Mayor knows quite well of such a situation in front of his residents. I have over a year ago brought this to City Council's attention with 0 response of this continuing safety hazard. On the 300 block of Chestnut on the east side where I live, 2 summers ago, the Mount Shasta police officer who filed an assault charge on Mr. Redmond for hosing down my dog and me from a mere 6 feet away on the sidewalk in front of Handsome John's Speakeasy shockingly suggested to me never walk on this sidewalk. Across the street is the Thrive Bar with tables and chairs on the sidewalk. Here also is a broken blue line that I can only presume is to mark the pedestrian safe passageway bordered by the curb. It might be 3 feet wide, but unfortunately, there lies directly in front of their entrance a city signpost that would leave only 1.5 feet for any pedestrian to traverse. Subsequently, for me to safely walk my dog safely south on the 300 block of Chestnut is an impossibility. Thank you, Mount Shasta.
All right, anybody else to talk about this item? right, we'll conclude the public comment on this, and let's head towards giving staff some direction regarding this item. Thoughts?
Works for me.
Jay, we're talking about Jay here, and just for further clarification, Jeff, are we saying that you're going to come back with some a CCO regarding this in the two meetings in October, first and then the second reading, and then after that you're going to do a much more robust overhaul of the parklet code after this is taken care of?
From you, request of direction from you on what to do with the temporary parklets that exist. Having gone through this in my previous jurisdiction, there's pain of impact economically to that decision. Merchants are used to additional floor area induced by COVID, et cetera. It's a weighty decision to make, and we need to discuss some of the nuances.
Are you hinting at going from ordinance that relates to permanent, from temporary to permanent parklets?
And what that might look like, whether it's a concrete curb extension at mid-block, and then you've got other competing considerations as well.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. All right. So I'm going to move that we give staff, city planner, direction to continue the process regarding item J written in the agenda. Are we all in agreement? Second? Second. All those in favor of that?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right, temporary clerk, that was a 5-0 vote to give you direction regarding item J that you have in the agenda. I'm not going to spend any time on future agenda items because we are nearing the end of this council session, and there is work being done regarding the parking lots, potential parking lots. There's work being done regarding the parklet item that's there. So unless anyone has some pressing concerns regarding future agenda items for the next couple months. No. We've already reported on the library meeting. I am missing the Collier meeting, and there won't be any meetings probably for a long time because it's closed. So with that said, we will adjourn this meeting at 7:18 without objection. All right, we're done at 7:18. Thank you.